In a life full of noise and chaos, we often don't have the time to stop, to truly listen to ourselves, and to understand what is happening in our minds. The noise from the outside world, the advice from others, or even the invisible expectations we place on ourselves constantly push us to make quick decisions. However, there is a power in silence that few recognize. Silence is not just the absence of sound, but an opportunity for us to pause, reflect, and reassess the choices in our lives. Sometimes it is only in those quiet moments that we truly find freedom, peace, and the ability to take control of our own lives. Silence is not weakness, but a powerful stillness. When faced with disrespect or hurtful words, our instinctive reaction is often to retaliate, to explain, to clarify that we do not deserve such treatment. But there is another option, one that is quieter but deeper: conscious silence. Silence is not surrender. On the contrary, it is how we choose to stand firm in the face of emotional storms created by others. Not reacting doesn't mean we don't feel anything. It means we've clearly seen what is worth speaking up for, and what is merely a repetitive emotional trap. In moments of being hurt, silence shows that you've overcome the need for recognition or justification. You don't need to shout for others to understand your worth. You choose silence as a way to maintain your presence, a presence that cannot be shaken by others' words. And it is in that stillness that you become a mirror, reflecting back to those who have hurt you, making them face themselves, with no one else to blame, no one else to project negative emotions onto. At that moment, silence is no longer empty space, but a space full of wisdom and freedom. Silence is not giving up, but how we hold ourselves together in challenging situations. Life is full of moments when others treat us with disrespect or when we are pushed into unwanted conflicts. In these moments, strong, hasty reactions may be our natural instincts. However, there is another path: intentional silence. Silence in these situations is not surrender, but an inner affirmation of our own strength. Instead of falling into the trap of arguments, instead of letting ourselves get caught up in confrontations that offer no benefit, silence helps us maintain calm, ensuring that our emotions are not controlled by thoughtless words or actions from others. When we choose silence, we don't just refrain from speaking. We use that stillness to reflect on what is happening. Silence gives us space to think, to realize that sometimes retaliation only makes things more complicated. And it is this silence that forces those who have hurt us to confront their actions without excuses or blame. Silence is the choice of the strong, because it requires control, self-discipline, in the face of the temptations of immediate emotions. Silence is an opportunity to observe and understand others more clearly. When we are pulled into arguments or conflicts, it's easy to feel offended or react immediately. However, if we know how to be still and not respond hastily, we have the opportunity to better understand others' motives and behaviors. Silence is not surrender or fear. It is a strategy to broaden our perspective. When we don't engage in the conflict, we create space to observe and assess others' actions more objectively. Only in silence can we see what others truly want, what they are hiding beneath the surface. Stillness helps us realize that the actions of others are not always related to us. In fact, many times, they are simply reacting to their own emotions and difficulties, and this is not our issue. Silence allows us to recognize that disrespect is not always personal. Sometimes it is the result of a lack of understanding or inner conflict. When we choose not to react, we not only protect ourselves, but also create an opportunity to understand others better. From this, we can decide how to respond in a wiser, more mature way. Silence is the key to maintaining calm in tense situations. When faced with disrespect or conflict, the urge to react in anger or respond immediately often overwhelms us. However, choosing silence may be the most powerful action. Silence is not just about not saying anything. It's a way to keep our minds at peace and not let emotions overshadow our reason. In moments of conflict, if we react immediately, it's easy to say or do things we might regret later. Hasty words not only increase tension, but may also damage relationships. When we choose silence, we create a space to think, to take time to master our emotions, and choose the appropriate action, instead of reacting emotionally. Silence is a way to protect ourselves from unnecessary conflict. When we don't participate in meaningless arguments, we maintain peace and control while avoiding making the situation worse. Moreover, silence helps us create a distance between ourselves and the conflict, reminding us that not every confrontation is worth fighting for. Thus, silence is not weakness, but the strength of a soul that is steady, self-controlled, and able to view things with clarity. Silence is the means through which we find freedom in life. Modern life constantly pushes us into situations where we must make choices, and sometimes these choices can leave us feeling trapped or stressed. However, silence is the space where we can reflect and make decisions freely, unshaped by external pressures. When we don't rush to make decisions, when we allow ourselves to be silent and think carefully, we can see more clearly the path we want to take and the reasons behind those choices. Silence is a way to untangle the pressures of society and the expectations around us. The outside world is always trying to shape us, forcing us to act according to others' desires. But in silence, we can return to ourselves, rediscover our inner voice, and listen to ourselves. It is in that moment that we realize that true freedom is not about following the wishes of others, but the ability to live according to our own values and desires. We may think that silence is retreating, but in reality it is a strong affirmation that we are in control of our lives and decisions, not manipulated by outside factors. Silence is not something weak or useless. On the contrary, it is a powerful assertion of inner freedom and power. In a world where everything seems to follow a fast-paced rhythm, choosing silence can be an act of courage and depth. When we know how to be silent, we don't have to respond to every word. We don't have to react immediately. Instead, we create space to think, to feel, and to listen to ourselves. It is in that silence that we find the true strength to live the way we desire, not dependent on judgment or influence from the outside. Thank you for listening. If you found the story meaningful and inspiring, don't forget to like and subscribe to support my channel. It gives me the motivation to keep sharing more inspiring stories.